Have you ever noticed how sometimes, when you're deep in thought, the answer to your challenge can seem just out of reach, and yet you know there's a way forward, even if it's hidden beneath layers of thought? Sometimes it's as if the solution is right there, quietly waiting for you to allow it to unfold. When you start to connect the dots, perhaps you realise it's not a matter of forcing things to happen, but simply allowing them to emerge almost effortlessly. You see, there's a natural flow that happens when you enter someone's world. You've probably done this before, without even realising it, by aligning with their experience first. Think about a time when you connected with someone, truly understanding their point of view. You may have noticed how effortlessly the conversation just seemed to flow. The space between you became one where trust could build, where movement felt natural. Isn't it fascinating that, in those moments, you didn't have to challenge their worldview? You simply moved with them. It's almost as if the universe conspires to make things work smoothly when you understand their perspective. But what happens when you move in a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing? It's not so much about pushing the boundaries of what's possible. No. It's about creating a bridge that leads somewhere fresh. Something they haven't seen before, but which is already waiting for them to discover. It's as if the moment you take the first step, the world reveals itself in a way that feels both new and natural. And here's something even more interesting. The most profound change doesn't always require a dramatic shift in awareness. In fact, some of the most effective transformation occurs without the need for obvious, overt rituals. It's not about performing a specific set of actions, but simply finding the right moment to allow change to unfold. Do you see how, when you understand the structures of change, when you can simply step into their world, you can help others move to a new place without forcing it? This can be done in any conversation. No special settings required. As you speak with someone, you might begin to notice patterns. These patterns exist not just in the things people say, but in the way they experience the world. Maybe they talk about their challenges. Perhaps they say things like, "I can't move forward because this is how it's always been." And in that moment, you could pause and think, is this the only way it can be? Isn't it curious how people, they often create those invisible blocks, how their minds build walls that don't have to be there? You could, in those moments, simply guide them with your words, to see that those walls, they're not as solid as they once seemed. You could speak in a way that allows them to recognise that, even if they once believed those walls were real. There are other ways of seeing the situation, and as soon as they recognise that the structure they built isn't as strong as it appears, they might find themselves already stepping forward into a new perspective. Isn't it interesting how someone realises that a limit isn't real? Then they can naturally begin to move past it. And there's something even worth noticing. Many times when people feel stuck, they set conditions for change that don't need to be there. They might say, well, I need this to be true first, or I need to feel this way first, and yet, you know, don't you? The real change doesn't need all those prerequisites. Change often happens when the mind realises it doesn't need to wait for everything to be perfect to begin. In fact, the most powerful techniques aren't always about creating dramatic shifts. Sometimes it's about noticing the smaller shifts, those subtle moments when something inside begins to unlock. A simple question, a shift in tone, or a metaphor, it can create an opening that allows new possibilities to emerge. As you guide someone gently, almost unnoticed, they may begin to experience a shift without even realising how it happened. Take a moment, if you will, and reflect on a time when change happened for you. Perhaps it wasn't in some grand ceremony, but in a quiet, almost imperceptible way. Perhaps it came when you were least expecting it, when you were simply moving forward and suddenly things just clicked. Do you remember the sense of relief? The recognition that it had always been there, just waiting for you to discover it. Isn't it remarkable how simple and elegant the process of change can be? You can think of it as a dance, fluid, effortless, unfolding step by step, always moving in the right direction. When you recognize how change can occur without struggle, you can trust it's happening all around you, even in moments that seem ordinary. And so, as you continue on your journey, you might notice you don't need to create a grand ritual for transformation. In fact, the more you explore the world of language, of patterns, the more you'll see change happens all the time, just through the simple act of paying attention, listening deeply, and speaking in a way that invites new possibilities. Isn't it amazing to realize that transformation happens through connection, not force? It's almost as if the most powerful change happens when you simply allow the space for them to occur, step by step, breath by breath, word by word.